Good evening, Jeanette. How are you? I got to change this camera a little bit here. There, that's much better. Well, welcome to our chat tonight. And, David's coming in here. That's fantastic. We got Jeanette and David.
Hi, Jorj.
Good
How are
evening,
you?
David. How are
Good
you?
evening. I'm good, and yourself? Yeah,
I
finally,
can't complain.
yeah, just sort of recovering from this cold. Seems everybody's had it. It's crazy.
Yeah, there's been a lot of that going around. I'm just going to.
Recording in progress.
Good evening, Lisa. How are you?
I'm good, Jorj. How are you?
Oh, I can't complain. Nice to have you on board here tonight.
Yeah, this is great.
Yeah, it's fantastic, actually. And we've got Jeanette and David here, and somebody called the chimp. Actually, that's me on another computer. Je-
Yeah. Hi, David. Hi,
Je-
Jeanette.
Hi there.
yeah, just so I can see what everything looks like tonight. Now, I'm just going to see if, let's see, from this end, because now that I've got another window open on Zoom, I'm just going to see if I can go to my Zoom here and see what happens if I, let's see, how do I do this on Zoom now? Nope. Okay. And I want to do a pin view and follow. No, that's not how to do it. And let me try here. No. Participants. Maybe I can do it here. More. Pin. I did it. Good. So I've pinned myself, I think, into Zoom so that you guys can see me, and then if anybody wants to do any talking, then hey, I can assign you to a camera. And let's see, who else is here? Gerald, nice to see you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I certainly can hear you.
Great. I was
You're
trying to hook up with what is it? Uh, the other way.
YouTube?
Yeah,
Yeah,
couldn't. I could see you, but no sound, nothing.
no sound on YouTube.
It's problems at my end. I got too many
Oh,
options.
yeah. Well, listen, talk about options. I have way too many.
Yeah.
Now, there's one thing that I will ask you, and it looks pretty good from my end, but I just wanted to ask what it looks like from your end, and that is my lip syncing with my words? I mean,
It's,
if I say pretty,
Yeah,
it's
oh,
pretty
good.
good.
it's all
It's pretty
good.
good. Okay, fantastic. And okay, so okay, you're watching on YouTube, Jeanette, and playing on Zoom, trying to find the microphone. Um, have you found the microphone, Jeanette? If you're on Zoom, the microphone is down at the bottom, very left-hand corner. If you move your mouse there, that menu should come up and should appear for you. And then you'll be able to, the up arrow will give you all the different microphones that you have available to you. So, yeah. Okay. So what I'm going to do right now to start things off, I don't know how many people I have here on YouTube, but it looks like we've got 5 people watching on YouTube. Anyway, that's fantastic. And if you're one of the 5 people on YouTube, please leave me a chat. Let me know where you're from. And that would be great. Fantastic. Thank you very much. And at Them One Project 515, do we have a first name that we can use with you, please, if you don't mind? If I'm going to call you, I think okay, Wally, thank you. Thanks, Wally. Thank you for joining us tonight. And I don't really have a guest speaker tonight, but I will be talking about an upcoming guest speaker. And yeah, it's going to be fantastic. And she's here with us tonight. So if you have any questions, that'd be fantastic. Steve, nice to have you here too. The guitar man, Steve. I'm just going to jot that down so that I have that as a note. Yeah, welcome to the chat. Now, I have to remind you that the chat it's really not a formal chat. It's really informal. And I tend, because I've got so many buttons I have to push here, I tend to mess things up a little bit. But I want to bring in Lisa Connor. She's going to be our guest speaker this coming December the 3rd. So, and I'm really looking forward to a fantastic evening of having her as a guest speaker to tell you about her wildlife and macro photography. So those are her 2 areas of expertise, and we will be seeing some of her images. We'll be also hearing about the equipment she uses and some of the challenges she faces in this type of photography. So I'm really looking forward to that, Lisa. That's going to be wild and fantastic. As a matter of fact, let me just, I'm going to bring you in here for a second. And there, we got David in. And now I'm going to put you, Lisa, as my guest number 2. So I'm going to have to go down here now. See, this is, I'm acting as not only the host, but the switcher, the video editor, and everything else. So let me just bring you in, and you can tell me a little bit about what you're going to be presenting and what that's going to look like. And so I have to go down here to guest and oh, that's David. Well, David,
That's
I'm
me,
sorry,
definitely.
but
Go on.
yeah, we're going to get rid of that. And then I am going to, let's see, make it guest 2. Hi, Lisa.
Hello there. There I am.
No, this is, actually, this is pretty good because we were going to do a rehearsal, weren't we?
Yes, we were.
Yeah, well, there you go. You see how easy it is? And yeah, it's pretty simple. I'm glad you're here tonight because now you can talk a little bit about what you're going to be talking about. So, Lisa, welcome. Do you want to tell us a little bit about the type of photography you're going to be talking about?
Thank you, Jorj. Yeah, so I'm going to just give you guys a little bit of my history and how I fell in love with photography, especially wildlife. And I focus predominantly on birds. So I'll talk about the equipment that I'm using, a bit of the strategies, what I look for in an image as far as composition, and just kind of go through those things. Some of my wildlife photography standards that I set for myself, as well as macro photography. I usually use the same kind of strategies for both of them. Yeah, so I'm really looking forward to chatting with you. and going over my photography.
Well, that's going to be great. I know that you're on Instagram, and I've looked at a lot of your images there, and I'm blown away with them. I'm not a wildlife
Thank you.
photographer. Yeah, so wildlife photography for me wasn't interesting until I found out that what they meant by that was to go into bars and take photographs. And actually, I did that once. One of my commercial customers was the Toronto Airport Hilton, and they wanted me to go into the bar to take photographs of how beautiful their bar is, how busy it is.
Yeah.
And of course, there's nothing worse than a photographer in a bar. Half the clientele leave. So
That sounds pretty
Anyway.
wild to me.
yeah, it was pretty wild. We solved the problem, interestingly enough, by they wanted to show how busy it was, and they didn't want to hire that many models, obviously. So I said, let's just hire 6 models. And then what I did is I placed them kind of strategically, some at the bar, some maybe a couple on the dance floor, and then one at a little bit closer to the camera at a table setting, and they were talking to each other. And then what I did is I told them this is going to be a long exposure, and the models had to hold absolutely still. So I took the shot. The models turned out great. Everybody else was unrecognizable, but because it's just a flurry of blur people.
Right.
And they loved that. And of course, I didn't have to go run around and get model releases from anybody. So that worked out good. Anyway,
That sounds fun.
that's my little wildlife photography story. Anyway, and wildlife, I thought it was too difficult for me. And some of the challenges were, I think that I spent enough time outdoors when I was in the military, and I thought, I'm not going to spend that much time outdoors again. So
Yeah.
that's how most of the photography I do is studio photography, and every now and then I show my portfolio. Of course, I'm retired from that profession now, but it was a good profession for many, many years. And the beauty of photography, whether it's studio, wildlife, or any kind of photography, is the fact that you always have something new. It's never the same. So it's not like, twirling, nut A on bolt B all day. It's like every day is going to be different. Every time you go out, it's going to be different. You'll see something
Yeah.
different, maybe the same animals, but doing something different, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, exactly.
So, anyway, thank you for that introduction. You saved me a lot of trouble having to give that introduction piece that I usually do, and so I'm just going to go back and go back here. Good. So, for those of you, I see Steve's here too. Oh, okay. Yeah. Steve and Wally, and let's see, who else? Is there anybody else on YouTube that hasn't kind of jumped in? Let me know where you're from. I know where Steve and Wally are from, and I certainly know where Lisa's from. But Jeanette, I think you're from Mississauga, if my memory is still good. And let's see, I'm just going to get rid of that. You don't need to have my name there all the time. And I'm just going to go here. There. See? Gone. Yeah. So, David, any adventures with your UV photography these days?
No, I'm doing other things at the moment.
What? What? Where are your priorities?
Yeah. I'm coming to unless I've tried some more flowers, but nothing's happened to the degree I want it to. And the rocks, I need to get some more rocks to I've got to send away. And
Well,
see what I can get.
David's the only person I know that actually imports rocks to Ontario. Like, we need more rocks, right? From China, and but these rocks are very special. They fluoresce. They're beautiful, and let's see. I think that was a couple of weeks ago that you showed us some of the rocks,
Yeah.
and I'm
They're a
hoping.
lot cheaper. I went to the rock and mineral and jewelry show in Ancaster about 3 weeks ago, but the cost for some of them were phenomenal. They wanted like $200 or $300
Oh,
for
really?
some of the specimens, yeah. And
Well,
so
I
I not,
think, yeah, those better fluoresce without UV light.
yes, yeah, they should do.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm
So
looking
as I
forward to
say, I
seeing
went
some
on to
more.
Timu, and
Yeah.
they got, yeah, I have to send away for some more on that one. Like I found as well that I was getting too close with the UV, so by coming away from it, I'm getting better pictures on it. So
Hmm.
it's a learning curve, which is good.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure it is. Okay, we just had, I'm just seeing, Steve's joining us here. That's good. Okay. As soon as he gets in here. There we go. No picture yet or audio, so it's taking a little while to connect for some reason. All right. Anyway, it's very nice to have you guys in here. What's this? Just trying to see what this thing says here. Not that I care one way or the other. I'm just going to click OK. Yeah, I've got too many screens, so I'm just trying to juggle everything here. It's don't look behind the curtain kind of thing. This place is something else. I started off with just my iPhone and being a perfectionist, I suppose. I always want to get a little bit better. So now I'm at the point where I've got a large screen over here. I've got my laptop screen down here. I've got my iPad screen that's bouncing off a teleprompter, and I quite haven't figured out how to reverse that yet. I do have a program to do that, but what I have to do is, of course, make sure that this iPad is mirrored to my PowerBook. So anyway, I'll figure it out. But even though it works this way, because now I can look directly at you guys and I can see you in there, which really helps me maintain eye contact, I guess. Anywho, I think Steve is still kind of working on getting in here. Yeah.
Hey, George, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Okay.
I just
Figure
can't
that out.
see you
Yeah.
yet. Yeah.
Yeah, not yet. Trying to figure it out on my end here.
Okay, so you're looking for, uh, have you used Zoom before?
I got to be honest, one other time, that was it.
Okay, well, usually the microphone, if you move your mouse down to the bottom of the Zoom window, you'll see that there is a microphone with an up arrow. And if you click on that up arrow, it'll see any microphones that are connected to your computer, and you can pick one of them. Usually it's the built-in one that most people pick. I use my earbuds, so that's on my menu, and that's what I use. But and then of course my feed is a little bit different. And right beside that, of course, is your video camera. There's a little icon of video camera. You do click on the up arrow, and it'll pick the video camera that happens to be hooked up to your laptop or whatever camera you're using that's plugged into the computer. Okay, so yeah. Now, tonight, what I'm going to go through, and then we can chat after if you have any questions about it. And most of you guys, I mean, I really appreciate everybody showing up. David, you've been a stalwart here. David's been here since day one almost, and every Wednesday night. And usually has some photographs to show if things are kind of slow, and discuss UV lighting. Okay, Pete, you're watching on YouTube. If you just type that into the chat, then I can show everybody that you're here. So, like I say, we tend to be informal. If you have something to say, just start talking, and I'll shut up for a minute. And if there's no guest speaker, then I usually try to pull some little lesson in. Nothing too long or arduous, but most of you guys are probably pretty familiar with Phil Flash, or Synchro Sun, as some people call it. But it's just a technique that people use to brighten up shadows when they're shooting portraits outside. And usually it's portraits, and I kind of emphasize that because you can't Phil Flash everything, especially distance things, simply because flash does not go that far. And you can do Phil Flash with your built-in flash on your camera too. You don't necessarily have to have an external flash. Of course, an external flash is a lot nicer because the flash is a little bit higher from the lens, giving you a slightly different type of light. Whereas the built-in flash on your camera is straight on. And yeah, you don't see too many people with straight-on lighting in normal life. Usually it's from above, and so you get shadows under the chin, under the nose, under the mouth, around the eyes, and so on. But Phil Flash can be quite useful, and I think the most useful place most people have found Phil Flash is where their subject is inside by a window with a view to the outside, and you say, what a beautiful view out there. I'd like to take a photograph of you in this room by the window. And what happens usually is that you get to take a beautiful photograph of the exterior, and your subject, who's by the window, is backlit by the exterior and becomes a silhouette. Now that's the extreme use of Phil Flash. The other use of Phil Flash is where you're outside with your subject, and maybe you're getting a little bit of sun and some shadows on one side of the face, and the shadows are maybe a little bit too severe. They're dark, and you can use Phil Flash to lighten up those shadows. The whole trick is not to overdo it. And don't make it look like there's really a second source of light lighting your subject, because all you want to do is elevate those shadows so that they're not quite so dark. You don't want the flash from your camera actually causing other shadows. That is the best use of Phil Flash. And I have some samples that I'll show you too, but let me go over the two ways that you can do Phil Flash, the ones that are probably the simplest to experiment with. Now, before I get started, and having talked about Phil Flash, don't underestimate using other devices to fill, because the other device to fill would of course be a reflector. So you reflect the light, the natural light that you're taking the photograph under, back into the shadow side of the face, or into the front of the face if the light is in behind. And the beautiful thing about having light behind somebody, and I remember seeing Lisa had a wonderful photograph of a fox that was backlit. I love that. You know, had this corona of hair and fur. Shouldn't say corona. I don't have that corona, but that fox did, and all that hair was backlit. It was beautiful. But with flash fill, and I don't think you can use it on a fox necessarily, but on a person, especially if they've got some nice hair, then their hair is nicely highlighted, and then you can use fill from the front, and that could be a reflector, or it could be your flash, if you're using it judicially, okay? You have to make sure that you don't overdo it. I will show you a couple, and I'm not sure. Gerald, you're still here, are you?
Yep.
Yes? Okay. Did we do Phil Flash with you? I think we did.
With me, when?
Oh, a long time ago.
Well, I'm familiar with Phil Flash. I think if I did it with you, it might have been using reflectors outside. I do remember one time we had used Phil Flash, and what struck me, what I learned on that exercise, was that how far away you can literally stand and still be able to flash light on a
Yeah.
subject. Like the example I have in mind that dates, what, 10, 20 years ago, I think, you know, the guy was holding just a reflector, and he
Mm-hmm.
must have been at least 20 feet away. And yet there was, and of course the light was strong, but he got beautiful fill flash. Uh, and I still remember the shot. The pose was it was a model who had a suitcase and was hitchhiking. I don't
Oh
know if
yeah,
that rings
yeah,
a bell for you. You remember that?
yeah. I do.
No, you don't.
I do.
Yeah, but it was
I
a great shot. It was a great shot. Yeah, that's all I can
Wonderful.
tell.
Okay, that's great. Let's see here. I'm going to go back to um, to. Somehow I lost something here that I wanted. There we go. There. Great. Okay, I'm back to where I wanted to be on my monitor. Anyway, let's talk about Phil Flash for a minute, and then we can talk about anything else that you might want to talk about. Excuse me. Alrighty. So let's have a look at some samples, first of all, of Phil Flash. And okay, Wally has sent a photo in. No, I can't do that. And let's see, maybe I can do it this way. I'll have a look at it. I'm going to open up. I'm going to open up Messenger. But I have to do that. I'm juggling here, man. Let's see. New window. And Facebook and got two messages here. Wally, Peter Biley. Okay, Pete, thanks for coming in. Pete's on YouTube. Well, let me give that a shot. And Wally. No. Okay. How many photos did you send, Wally? 1, 2, 3? Okay. I'm going to try to download them here. Well, maybe I can do it this way. Let's give it a shot. We'll give it a shot here. Okay, so 3. Well, I'm sure you have lots of samples, and I appreciate them. Okay, let me see if I can do this by doing it this way, Wally. I am going to try to do this. Okay, primary display, secondary current application. All right. I think I can do this. I just have to get rid of this person. Good. And move. I got too many windows I'm juggling here. There we go. Okay. Okay, everybody see that?
Yep.
Good. Okay, so Wally was kind enough to have this ready for us here. And I'm just going to grab my little red arrow here. Ta-da! And with that red arrow, I think I can come in here. And you can see that the background, and here's the key with fill flash, is to have the background properly exposed. Now this young lady is probably in some shade here with the trees, but Wally gave her some fill here, and you can see that the light is coming from her right behind her, and look how it's highlighting the hair. It's beautiful. I love that. And the other thing you'll notice is that the fill hasn't overpowered the light. In other words, the fill light that's on the front of this young lady's face is not looking artificial. It doesn't look like she's being hit by another light. So it's just enough to make it look good. Now, Wally, can you just describe the steps that you went through to get this? And just by quickly typing in the process into your chat. Yeah, and that's why you'll see most professional photographers, when they're taking photographs at a wedding or people outside, they're always using flash. And I know a lot of people who aren't into photography, they're not here, but they don't understand. Why are you using flash? You got all this light. Well, it's to make that picture just a little bit better. Actually, a lot better. So it really helps. Now, I know that some wildlife photographers who have taken photographs of wildlife and they have used flash. I know that some macro photographers definitely use flash, and if they're doing really close-up photography, they use a ring flash. And a ring flash is one of those things that that actually fits right around your camera, and let's see. Can I get out of this here? Yeah, I'll use this one. There. Move over. The sign is on my shoulder. Anyway, yeah. There's a ring flash right around the lens, and they use that for macro photography because in a lot of cases you can't get your flash tilted down far enough. Now, there are a few flashes that do tilt down quite a bit, but in a lot of cases with a macro lens, you actually shade the front of your lens, and it causes a shadow on, on the photograph. And a lot of people take macro photographs with a built-in flash. Forget it, because it's so close to the lens that if you get that close with your lens to take a macro photograph, or a close-up photograph, you're going to have the shadow of the lens in that shot. And that's what that dark hemisphere is on your shot. So a ring flash is the best, or just use available light if you've got enough of it and it's bright enough and you can have a high enough shutter speed to work with that. That's great. Now let's see if I can. I'm just going to do something that I rarely do here, and that is I'm going to see if I can. What happens if I do this? Oh, perfect. Wonderful. So I'm going to go back to there. All right. I'm going to go back here, and I'm going to go back to this one. Oh. There. Okay. Now I'm going to see if I can go back to this, and I lost my picture. There it is. Okay. So we're back here. Let's see. There we go. Thanks, Wally. So it's something very simple. I set the flash to high-speed sync, then dial the power down to 1/3, and I use aperture priority on the camera. Cool. Okay. Well, thank you for letting us know how you do that. Let's have a look at a couple of your other shots while we're here. And okay, good. Again, the whole key is that you want to maintain the background at the correct exposure, and you want correct exposure on your subject. That's the important thing. Okay, that's your third shot. Well, thank you very much, Wally. I really appreciate that. Good. So, hey, that's great, Wally, because now I know that with a little bit of mucking around, I can actually show images that people on YouTube have if they can send them to me otherwise. Probably whether they can. Actually, it was kind of cool that you sent it by Messenger, because I could open up Messenger on my browser and my images are there, or I should say your images are there, and it worked out really good. Super. Okay. Now I'm just going to go back to this one. There, see? Worked. Thanks a million. I really appreciate that, Wally, and I know for a fact that you have a ton of photographs that I would love to show. Yeah, because you're a consummate photographer. I've been following you for a long, long time. All right, let me talk a little bit about film. And just to give you some idea, here is a photograph of this young man with his dog, no fill. And you can see that the shadows, although they're not objectionable, they are a little bit dark. So let me just grab this thing here. So in order to elevate those shadows out, a flash was used and ended up with this. So you can see that the shadow side of his face still has shade. So there's still character to that, because shade will give you character and dimension to the face. I think that's real important to have some shadows on the face, unless you're using models and you want butterfly lighting, which is, fashion lighting, beauty lighting, that kind of thing. So, yeah. And the one neat thing, I'll tell you right now, one neat thing about shooting people outside is because there's usually enough light that their pupils contract. And when the flash goes off, you lighten the face, but the pupils don't change from that flash. And so you get irises, nice, bright colored irises. And that's why in a studio, I remember when I was taking photographs of models for my clients, they said, how come you leave your lights on in the studio? Because it was pretty bright to begin with. I said, because I don't want to be photographing the models with great big, black discs with just a little iris around it, around their pupils. So with the lights being bright in the studio, it contracted their pupils, and I got the colorful irises. And that means a lot to me when I'm taking a photograph of a person, that I can see the color in their eyes. So that's another thing that this helps. Anyway, here's another shot. I don't know if anybody recognizes this one. I use all my students' work for this because they do such a good job. And again, the background is good, but there's on a balcony, obviously, facing inwards. And so a little fill helps. Now, again, the fill wasn't so powerful to make it look out of place, like there's a second sun or there's daylight on this side. It was just enough to elevate those shadows so that it looks realistic, but it looks good, compared to this. That's what flash fill or fill flash synchro sun will do for you. And here's a guy. Yeah. Right? Do you remember this?
Yep. Yep.
And there's the fill. No fill? Fill. Okay, so let's talk about two techniques of doing fill flash or synchro sun. And I have really simplified these down just for this presentation. I also do a whole bunch of little videos that are bite-sized lessons in photography. So I really whittle everything down to the essence, and rather than have a whole bunch of jargon and everything else with it, I say do this and it'll be a good start for you. Okay, so what do we have here? Okay, good. No other comments come in? No. Alrighty. Manual mode. Well, that's usually the one I start with most students because I like to keep them in manual mode so that they learn shutter speed, aperture, ISO, and all that stuff. You guys are already there, so I'm not worried about it. But, hey, I'm going to go through the steps. So the first thing you do is put the camera dial into M for manual. You're going to do manual mode. The next thing you do is you point your camera at the scene that you're going to be shooting and you zero your meter. Now, because you're shooting digital, you can do a quick test, take a shot, make sure your background is the exposure that you like to see. That's the important thing. Don't worry about your subject yet. Make sure your background is the exposure you like to see. Then what you do is make sure your camera shutter is no higher than your X-Sync level. Now, I know that some cameras have the ability to go to higher shutter speeds, but I'm assuming that you have a camera that can't do that. If you want to know what your X-Sync shutter speed is, it's easy. All you have to do is put your camera in manual mode, set your shutter speed for 1/500th of a second, turn on your flash. The minute that flash is turned on, your camera will automatically go to X-Sync, which is usually 1/200th of a second, sometimes 1/2. It varies with different makes and different types, models of cameras. But then you know what your X-Sync is. as long as your flash is attached to the hot shoe on your camera, or you're using the internal flash, it's not a problem. Okay? Because your camera won't allow you to shoot higher than your sync speed. And that sync speed is where your shutter is totally open and the flash goes off and then it closes. Because higher speeds, you'll only get a narrower shot and only that part will be properly exposed. The rest will be black or dark. So your camera does all your thinking for you in that case, and that's the beauty of the SLRs, DSLRs these days, or even mirrorless cameras. But all right, so the next thing is flash in manual mode. Use your flash in manual mode, and in manual mode, you can reduce the power. You can go full power, half power, quarter power, and you keep reducing your power until you're happy with the shot. So the fill shouldn't be overpowering. That's that's one of the things that I maintain, that you want to be sure that it's not overwhelming your image and being brighter than the background. Okay, so that's it. That's the simple thing. 5 steps. Camera in manual mode. Zero your meter. Make sure you have the right exposure for your background. And then set your shutter speed to 1/250th or longer if you want. Depends on what you want to do with the background. Then put the flash in manual mode and take a shot in full power. Too much light, go to half power. Too much light, go to quarter power. Too much light, keep going until you get just the right amount of light. And then from where you stand and where your subject is, if that doesn't change, you can keep photographing and posing the person, turn this way, turn that way, look this way, look that way, and it'll work out good. Now, the other way of doing it, and I suggest you do it this way first, just to get a handle on what it looks like and go through the, because I tell people, it's just like music. If you've got a guitar, you can't play right away. You have to practice to get good. Photography, same thing. Practice, practice. You're going to make mistakes, and that's beautiful. I love mistakes because you'll say, I won't do that again. Okay? You'll get good at what you're doing. You really will. All right. So let's look at TTL or ETTL mode. Now, for this mode, what you want to do is set the camera mode dial to P for program. Once you've done that, then what you do is you set your flash for ETTL or TTL, depends on which one it has. But ETTL would be great. Now, what's going to happen is that you're going to get, in case you've forgotten what TTL means, through the lens. So your metering is going to happen through the lens for both your background and your fill. So the camera in program mode and your camera set to ETTL defers to the camera sensor to give you the proper amount of flash. Okay, and take the shot and gauge to see if you have the right fill effect. Now, the other thing is, if you need to adjust the flash, then again, you can use exposure compensation. Now, on some cameras, you have that little plus and minus box with a lightning icon beside it. If you have the plus and minus with a lightning icon beside it, that means that will adjust the flash. You can adjust the flash higher or lower in output. Higher or lower by exposure compensation. And that's real quick. If you know how to do that, you just hit the exposure compensation and you'll see this, the meter icon come up on your screen, and you can go plus or you can go minus. Depends on which way you want to go and which way you feel you want the flash to work. And that's it as far as the how do I get there? Cool. And let me go all the way to the bottom here. Okay, that's flash fill. in a nutshell and real quick. Okay, so I'm just going to move over a bit now, center myself up. Fantastic. Any questions? Anything anybody wants to ask? Say, have you tried it? Would you like to try it? Anyone, jump in, jump. Yeah. Yes.
Makes so much more sense.
Good. I'm glad you like that explanation. Yeah. And you see the beauty of this program? I can invite you right into the studio.
There I am.
Right. Yeah, that's fantastic. Okay, I'm glad you enjoyed that, and I'm glad you maybe got something out of it, because that's the whole idea behind all of these chats, is that I want everybody, to learn little thing, or sometimes it's not even to learn; it's just a refresher, and you say, "Oh, I forgot all about that," and because. It's amazing. Many people have taken many courses in a lot of cases, and it's hard to keep them all in your head. I know I can't. I mean, it gets to the point where I'm feeding information in and it's falling out the other ear because I just don't have the capacity to remember it all anymore. So, yeah. Let's see. Anybody else? Any comments? Do you use Phil Flash or any of the other methods? I know that there was a National Geographic photographer who used a small collapsible circular reflector, and that's all he carried. And he would take photographs of people, in doorways with the sun coming across, shadow on the other side, and he would just put that little reflector over this side and bounce the light back into their face. And that was his Phil Flash, and it looked very natural because obviously same color temperature as the originating light, right? So he actually turned the light coming from the source to a reflected light, incident light to reflected light. That's what I'm getting at. Anybody else on flash fill? Anybody have any? Okay, now let's see. Where are we? Yeah. Yes. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, you're talking about a habit that you have that works for you, and again, that's the beauty of photography, is that there are so many ways of doing the same thing. And Photoshop is one of those programs where if there's one way of doing something, there's another dozen ways of doing the same thing in Photoshop. So it depends on, you could spend your whole lifetime on YouTube learning about how to do the same thing in different ways. And I agree that that's the beauty. And if you have a technique that you use in Photoshop to lighten up or do the same thing as Phil Flash would do, then that's great. I do it this way because I like photography. I love Photoshop, but I don't want to be spending a lot of time in it. Photoshop to me is like I used to spend time in the darkroom. I used to take some beautiful photographs, then I'd go into the darkroom, process them. Then I'd be printing them, and I'd be dodging, and I'd be burning, and I'd be doing all kinds of things. And I said to myself, I'm only going to spend an hour in this darkroom. And that was at 10 o'clock in the evening after I finished shooting. And I'd look at the watch and I'd say, crap, 4 a.m. It sucked my time away from me. But it can do that. It's not that I didn't like it, but I thought I was jealous of my time. And I was using a lot of my time in the darkroom. I found out that I was doing the same thing in Photoshop. if I can create a photograph that doesn't need to be corrected, then I avoid that extra time that I have to spend. Now, if you love doing that, great. It's just that the only thing that I use Photoshop now, the only thing I use it for now is to correct something that I had no control over while I was taking the photograph. And that could be keystoning on buildings because I didn't have a shift tilt lens. Or it could be, I can't erase. I've got a perfect picture of something, but I can't erase something in the background that I don't want there while I'm taking the shot. There's no way I can either position myself higher or lower to get rid of that object. So yeah, there are a lot of things that I think I would use Photoshop for and have used Photoshop for that I couldn't do while I was shooting. My whole thing is get the shot as good as you can so you don't have to Photoshop. But there are always things that are out of your control, and Photoshop is the answer, or Lightroom, or one of the many other editing softwares. So yeah, if you like doing that, hey, great. And if it does a job for you that you like, fantastic. There is a setting, I think Nikon has it, Active D. Anybody familiar with Active D? No? The Active D setting is pretty interesting because what it does is if you take a photograph and there are shadows in the photograph, it brightens those shadows a little bit. It's almost like having a tiny little flash fill, but it does it in camera. And if I can find, let me just check here because I might have an Active D example. Let's see, find Active D. And I want an image. Oh yeah. Whoops. I got one. I mean, you can look up Active D. Here we go. I'll do it this way. Make this nice and big. Okay. And I'm going to go to, again, I'm going to share this. If I can. Show current application. Yeah. Now, nope, not going to work that way. Okay. Anyway, look up Active D lighting in Google or whatever web browser you use, and I think you will be very happy with what you might find there. Yeah, can't do it this way. Oh, maybe this way. Hang on. There we go. Do you see that? That's Active D using the Active D program. Turn it on. And some people just turn it on, leave it on. And usually you find this in your menu in your camera. If you go to the menus and your camera menus, Active D lighting. Now, I know Canon has, that's a Nikon calls it Active D, but I know Canon has a similar type of thing, and I forget what they call that. But if you have a Canon person here, you might know what they call that. That helps this kind of situation where you're shooting a person with lighting behind them, and it'll brighten them up a little bit. And that helps. Yes? Yes? Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, the thing is that you know, probably for just ordinary shooting and just landscape and things like that, buildings and so forth, you don't need Active D. Although you can use it there, because it's not a light that goes out. It is actually a software program within the camera that will lighten up things that are in shadow. There you go. Yeah. Well, I would, I'd take somebody outside on a day like this and put them with the sun behind them. And you know what? The beauty of shooting somebody with, there's that old saying about the sun should be over your shoulder. No, 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 no. I mean, yeah, it's probably best if you don't know what you're doing. But if you do know what you're doing, the sun should be off to one side at 45 degrees, giving a nice shadow and texture to clothing and face, or behind them, and using Fill Flash or Active D program or any kind of program within your camera to make that happen. You know what? They wouldn't put that program into your camera if it didn't work. So take advantage of everything they give you, man. Absolutely. All right. Yeah. Do me a favor. If you do, shoot it without, shoot it with. And I'd love to see the difference in your type of photography. So that would be very cool. Okay, now I got to figure out how I'm going to get out of this. Yeah, here we go. Yeah. Oh man, that's a mouthful. That is a mouthful. Yeah, okay. At least now I know, huh? Right, let's see. I'm going to see if I don't want to crash my whole program here. How do I get rid of this? Okay, well, there's one way I know for sure, and that is to go here. Ta-da! Now I'll figure out how to get rid of it later. I can close all that up. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let's see. Geez, have I gone overtime? I have. Amazing. And I don't usually like to do that because I usually like to keep it to a 1 hour session because I think that, I don't want to bore people to death either. So, if I have a guest speaker, I usually like the guest speaker to keep it to about 15 minutes to a half hour presentation. And then there can be another half hour of questions or discussions about what they saw, if there are any questions. I know, David, with your UV photography, people are always interested and what kind of UV did you use, and where did you buy it, and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, and I think Lisa, if now David has taken some photographs of bugs, haven't you, David, with UV light? Yeah. 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 Hmm. Okay. Yeah, these guys live in Ontario? Yeah, okay. So much. Okay, no more sleeping on the ground in the sleeping bag. I don't care. Mm-mm. All right. Okay, if there are no other questions, I think I'm going to call it a night. Or any more comments, questions, anything? Let's see. I think there are some. Oh my goodness, we do have. Let's see. We've got. Anytime I'm outside, I use flash. Okay, Wally, you gotcha. And I don't blame you because it's so beautiful. And I have Star. I may need advice soon about lighting. My home isn't ideal for lighting. Okay, well, Star, I think Star Chilla, right? Okay, nice to have you here. I'm glad you made it. Thank you very much for coming in. You're from BC, right? What part of BC do you live in? Let's see. The late Brian Peterson talked about walking up to his subject, taking a meter reading, and stepping back to take the shot. It's something a lot of people don't do. Okay, yeah. And the thing about walking up to a subject, take a meter reading, is that you have a good exposure of the subject. But then what happens to the background? It could be overexposed, or maybe the background isn't that important. I don't know. Now, I assume they're taking a reflected reading and not an incident reading with a light meter, handheld light meter. Because really, the only place I use a handheld light meter is that I used it a lot, is studio shooting, especially with strobes. If I've got 5 or 6 studio strobes, I like to use a light meter. That way I can measure each strobe and set up my lighting. Although I'm one of those photographers that all the commercial headshots that I've shot, one umbrella, one reflector, period. Yeah. Yep. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I think I've seen this one. Yeah. Good. Okay, well, Wally, thank you for coming. Everybody, thanks for coming in. This was fantastic. I call this probably one of my best evenings with great people in here. And I know that not all of you, but almost all of you were students of mine at one point or another. I've been in the teaching business now, both at Conestoga as well as Mohawk College, Burlington. I did some teaching there at the art gallery, and right now I'm teaching 2 courses for Mohawk. One at a high school in Hagersville. It's a dual credit course. They get a Mohawk credit as well as their high school grade 12 credit. And then the other one is Photo 101 on Monday nights. So yeah, never stop, man. Never stop. Always keep going. There's always something to learn. I get so excited about some of the things that I just can't get enough, And please have a look at some of the other past videos. Just go to my channel and have a look at some of the other chats. There was a chat by a forensic photographer. There was a chat by Uncle Gaston, who's a wildlife photographer. And there was a chat by an artist. I think she's from Peru, and she was talking about how she photographs her jewelry that she creates, and she uses her iPhone to photograph the jewelry, and they're beautiful pieces, beautiful photographs. And then, did I mention forensic photography? And then there's David Atkins, who talked about his photography adventures in Siberia, the Near East, and rainforest. And he's going to be coming back on talking about his adventures in underwater photography, looking for a Spanish galleon in the Mediterranean. Anyway, there's things coming up in the future, but the most important thing coming up, and the next thing coming up, is Lisa, and she's going to be talking about her macro photography and wildlife photography and showing you some amazing images. It's going to be great. I'm looking forward to that, Lisa, so much. And I'll just give you another little preview of that. And here it is. If I can get all the way up there. Good. There you go. That's Lisa. And it's wonderful. Owls. I can never find them. They got to be the hardest creature to spot. But yeah, I know. I don't know how you do it, but it's great. Glad to have you there. Yeah. Yeah. I think you got that owl's attention. Looking right at you. That's amazing. That's great. I know that perfect. That's fantastic. I know that I was down, actually, I was in Hungary in a forest, and somebody said, "Look at the owl." And do you think I could spot it? Those things are so camouflaged. And finally, I had to get behind the person's shoulder, follow his arm and finger, and I said, "Oh, that's it. Okay, I see it now." So, yeah, that's how. That's great. Okay, so there's only one thing that I'm going to ask you to do. Oh, please visit my channel and have a look at some of the past videos, um, because I leave them all up there so that people can go back and look at them. I'm sometimes amazed that I might have a guest on, and then it's posted immediately to YouTube, and the next day I wake up, see how many guests I've had, and it's like 110. So a lot of people can't see it at the time, and I know that they know it exists because they come and look for it. And I know the guy from Switzerland and from India, those two people. It's just the wrong time of day. 7 o'clock is like 2 o'clock in the morning wherever they are, or even later. So yeah, they might say, "I'll look at it later," and they can't show up. But when they do show up, it's great to have them and talk to them. The guy in Switzerland, he's also a small aircraft pilot, and so he's got some great shots from plane. Yeah. Okay, ladies and gentlemen. So what I'm going to ask you to do, of course, is give me a like because that helps my channel and makes me feel good. And of course, if you have an opportunity to subscribe, I appreciate a subscription. Other than that, I'd like to thank you. Unless anybody's got any questions, anything to ask? No? Okay. Then I'm going to Good night, everybody. Have a good week, good shooting, and have fun, mostly. See you next week. Thank you. Thanks, Lisa. Thanks. Thank you.